you have traffic, and the days that I have traffic, you have no traffic. Oh well.
Maybe one blocks the other. I don't know.
I don't know. Send all the traffic Sean's way.
No.
Yeah. Your journey is far shorter than my journey.
That doesn't, yes, but every ounce of traffic affects me even more.
Did you have your Hong Wing coffee this morning, by the way?
No.
We're in for a show and a half. Let's get into your daily review.
Well, our first story we want to get into is the latest with regards to the oil spill, the pipeline, and those that have built on the pipeline. So Heritage is more or less saying, well, look, any structure that is in the pathway of the underground pipeline needs to be demolished. Now, according to the people living there, or at least one of them living there, what they are reported of saying is, they don't really have much structures built on the pipeline. Although they admit that it comes close to their house. But what's interesting is two things. One, they have said that Heritage wanted them to sign something with regards to liability, right? Basically, I think it could be like a waiver saying Heritage is not liable. That's what I think the people are assuming it was. They refused to sign it. Some of the residents are saying this, right? So we don't necessarily know if this is how true this is. But then the other thing is the fact that the residents, again, one of the residents is reported saying that, look, relocation is the best thing. You know, those that are all around the line have to move, right? Otherwise, they have to move the line. And when he says relocation, maybe it's my assumption, but I'm assuming that he means that Heritage has to pay for the relocation.
Well, I mean, that is what is implied by his messaging. But to be honest with you, I think in this particular instance, Heritage should assist. I would not go against what I suggested a couple of days ago, where both parties involved, all parties involved, bear responsibility for this. Because the family stated they were aware that the pipeline there existed, but they thought, they were under the impression that the pipeline was not commissioned. It was decommissioned years ago. Mm-hmm. Now, one former employee of Petrotrin said that's not the case. You know, since I've been there, this pipeline has been operational. So that's one. Two, families built their structures there. Their addresses, we assume at least, were registered to that location. Mm-hmm. They've been paying their bills. At least we hope they have been paying their bills. But when all is said and done, if that is the case, Heritage bears responsibility. Because if the families are also stating that sometimes employees of Petrotrin would come and say you need to hold construction but never showed up, the mere fact that the families admitted that was happening, yeah, and then all of a sudden that just stopped, yet they continued with the construction, Heritage bears responsibility, families bear responsibility. So the question is now, are you going to compensate the families for the structure? Are you, in terms of the value of the property? Are you going to compensate them in terms of the value of the new properties they have to move into? What's going to take place? However, I agree that the family should not be residing there. And in the instance of the letter of no liability, well, in that particular case, it's really up to the lawyers to advise, because, again, from my standpoint, both parties certainly bear responsibility.
Well, and that statement there, the problem is most people are probably assuming in cases like these, it's either one side bears responsibility or the other side bears responsibility. But what you're saying is that no, responsibility is somewhat up the middle, split. It might not be an equal split, right? How do you determine the fairness of who bears more, who bears less, or if it should actually be equal? The fact that the family is saying, well, look, the line was decommissioned and they recommissioned the line. That's interesting. We probably should still look into that just to be sure. But again, it would help if we would find out more with regards to where did they find out this information to help trace,
you see,
the origins of or the factual, yes, validity of it.
Because you also have to ask yourself, we have to consider all factors. You know, in the instance of Heritage understood that the pipeline was there. Obviously, yeah, the families, yeah, understood that the pipeline was there. They just thought it was decommissioned. But the problem is, Heritage never did anything about it, and the families continued to live their life even though they themselves were aware. If there was no leak or structural damage that caused this, would the families have to be relocated, or would the families still be there? Would Heritage actually act? Would Heritage have done what is responsible of them, or should be their duties and obligations, and acted? So all of those things you have to consider as well, which is why I suppose they did not sign the no liability claim that was issued to them from Heritage.
I think, right, they would let sleeping dogs lie. And I think this now not only goes to show like a cultural response to responsibility that we probably witness, we just don't know that we're witnessing it in other areas with regards to our public administration. These are lackings with regards to the systems of government now, where Heritage will have these criteria with regards to their pipelines underground, and there's no corroborating supporting system with town and country and with utilities that will say, well, no, we can't just allow these things to happen. The resident reported that his father was paying rent and then all of a sudden stopped. It makes me wonder if, again, he was potentially scammed, somebody who claimed, because I don't know how you could claim ownership of the land over the pipeline. So then exactly who is he paying rent to, and how was he able to just stop paying this rent?
Well, that's the
right?
next part. Exactly the deed of the land, whose name is it in? You see, all of that has to be considered. This is a very tricky and sticky situation because of multiple factors involved.
Right, the implications, because it's not just about this instance, how we deal with this instance, which will now be highly publicized, will then inform and set precedent to how we'll treat similar situations going down the line. And I don't like the fact that something, at the end of the day, something went horribly wrong, and it's showing that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. You're giving them water and electricity connections over a piece of property that shouldn't even potentially be there, because I believe that even though most of the houses are not built over the pipeline, again, the possibility of relocating all of these families who are built within proximity, close proximity to the pipeline, exists. And then that bill is a lot more than just saying knock down a structure and pay you back for that.
Ask yourself this question. As I said, so many factors, so many avenues, so many considerations. Did the family already admit responsibility and to a certain degree liability? These are legal terms, by the way, so legal definitions are a bit tricky. But did they already admit responsibility and to a certain degree liability over their admittance that they were aware that the pipeline there existed, but they still built? Did they also admit responsibility and, again, to a certain degree liability if they were warned when the infrastructure was actually going up multiple times, but they continued?
I think ignorance of the law is no excuse, whether we like it or not. That is the practice. And you can't just assume that, oh, it's condemned and they stopped showing up. There was no attempt, from what I understand, based on what was reported, right? They didn't say that they went to Petroleum or they went to Heritage to make it clear. And even if the line is, the function of the line ceases, right? Because they said, well, they recommissioned the line. So what is the actual ruling? Because the line is still there, right? And they should, I would hope. And if they don't, they need to have this. They need to have rules with regards to when is it that a line is not like fully decommissioned. We will never use this again. And if we want to use this again, then it's our bad because we said we're not using it again. So what is that process like? Because you can't just assume, why are you assuming, oh, well, they decommissioned the line and they will obviously never use it again? That's not obvious to me. So yes, to your answer, potentially yes.
But at the same time, even though you're saying that there is ignorance to the law, and I understand that, and I agree that there's been ignorance in this entire process, at the same time, does Heritage hold responsibility for not enforcing what should be their own regulations? of people bearing construction in the vicinity of these pipelines. You do know that natural gas pipelines, where they run, there are always these yellow columns with signs saying natural gas pipeline underneath. That may not be the case for heritage lines.
Should be held responsible for the fact that they did not keep up with the monitoring of their own pipeline, of what was built on their pipeline. If that, again, it all depends. What is the actual rules and practices that they're supposed to operate in? So we're assuming that they're supposed to keep that effort up. If that is so, they need to bear the responsibility of not doing so, right? So that's what makes it tricky, because as I think you pointed out when this story initially broke, neither side is 100% in the right here, just based off of what has been reported. But with specific context to the regulations and what the processes should be, will help clarify some of it. Some of it.
You know, there's another catch to this, Sean. If you were suggesting that there's a possibility that the family was scammed in terms of the land, because we don't know exactly the deed of the land and whatnot, but if the family has been occupying that land for decades and it's not necessarily in their name, the squatters' rights come into play here as well? You know,
I mean, that's real speculation there, so we don't know exactly with regards to that.
Many things to consider.
Right. So, and again, that's for a judge to figure out, and hopefully we have one of our better judge on one of their better days to sort all of this out, and the lawyers don't mess up with presenting less than important or significant arguments, because that's the other thing. We could get precedents set just because one of the lawyers kind of did a poor job with figuring out what arguments should I be presenting in this matter. But hopefully it could be sorted out, because this, again, will impact down the line. It will probably impact how we view squatters' rights as well. So there's a lot, it's easy to underestimate, but there's a lot to unpack here with regards to how these people are going to be treated. And I just hope that people will have the patience and understanding, assuming that it is done in good faith, whatever it is, that justice is done. But of course, they have to do the work to get the right determination done.
Certainly. I think we should move on actually to the second story, because even though time for this segment is more or less out, this is a very, very critical story.
So at first I just, looking through the news, the headline caught me because I was concerned. 2-year-old abducted. I have less tolerance for crimes against children than other crimes, right? It impacts me more. And I thought that something like this is something noteworthy that we should highlight. A 2-year-old boy was kidnapped by someone close to him. They see a relative, I'm not too sure, it might be a cousin. The key to the story is the fact that this is the second time this male relative has kidnapped the boy. He initially apparently kidnapped the boy and the 18-year-old mother. And then he was being held by the police for a few days. He was released. I can't remember if it was on bail or if he was just released, what the report says. But he was released, showed up to where the mother and son were staying, and abducted the son. So the mother is like, what's going on? Why was he just released? We're talking, I believe, in the span of 20 hours, he was able to be apprehended, released, and then re-kidnapped his nephew.
Well, so this is the thing. Understand that this entire situation, again, like most stories, in the reports that this lady gave to the police, in the instance of the individual actually being remanded in a cell without any charge, that report is absolutely crucial to understanding the decision by the police to release him without any charge. Was there enough evidence? Did the lady actually want to go ahead with charges based off of her statement? Because that statement is the first key line of evidence to anything from happening. So, we may not necessarily understand all that unless we have an idea of the statement that she gave to the police. But beyond that...
Sorry, it wasn't 20 hours, it was 20 days.
Right. Knowing that the individual was released, the other part of the story that is peculiar to me, it says... At about 2:30 a.m., Habib Ali of Quashtre, Sangrani, contacted the Sangrani police station and reported that whilst at home with his sister, Adiba Ali, who happens to be the mother, 18 years old, of the 2-year-old son. Sorry, yes, the 2-year-old. He was awakened by his sister. Habib told officers that Adiba told him that the 35-year-old suspect broke into the house, took his nephew without her consent, and left in a direction unknown to them. So the other instances, we don't know the exact relation between this 35-year-old relative and this female.
Yes.
So we can, again, we don't know.
And why? What the motivation is.
Exactly.
Because, again, it was reported that on May the 4th, she and her son were abducted. They were found, rescued from a house in Manzanilla, and the police had him in custody for a couple of days after that incident, and they let him go.
She gave a statement, at least to the media, and she says, I think he was stalking us for a while. So that's a second police report that needed to be made. I know the man, yes. I remembered seeing him standing in the doorway with my son, and I asked him why he taken my son and where he's going. But I was too afraid to follow him and see where he went with my child.
I think that's the last kidnapping.
But yes, but that is very peculiar and odd to me, because instincts will say that no matter what, you're always going to fight for your child.
Well, no, I think in this case, if it is the fact that she thought, let me wake up my brother to try to chase after them, and it ended up being...
No, but she watched the man literally walk away with the child. That's the thing. So again, I'm not trying to be so harsh on the instance, but you have to understand that me reading this story and analyzing it sounds very peculiar and fishy
How
to me.
you respond in that sort of situation, it's difficult to judge, because like I said, she might not be able to fight off a 35-year-old that has her son in his arms, right? So she might be thinking, look, it's better to get somebody to help me. Unfortunately, in this instance, it might have ended up being the wrong decision because they lost track of the individual. So they have no more leads, so they can't follow up, right? But again, that's a real technical interpretation. I'm not saying that she did the wrong thing. I'm just saying the outcome ultimately, maybe she might have had a better outcome if she chose a different course of action. Maybe. Or maybe it could have ended up worse.
No, but we also need to understand why was he released, because obviously there was no evidence, or at least that's what it seems to me, to charge him. But if you knew that he was aware and you were stalking him, he was stalking you guys, that's another police report to be made.
Yeah.
Now, we've had instances where people say we feel helpless going to the police, it doesn't make sense. But in instances like this, you're now saying the police did not do enough. And I've always said that we kind of need to do our parts. We have everything when we're complaining about the police. The other part about this is, and I know it's a separate issue, but I'm sorry, this lady seems to have been impregnated at the age of 15, right? Which is also another police investigation.
Yeah.
A minor
Good
being
point.
impregnated.
Yeah.
So that is also something to consider as well, because in this entire situation, I am fearful for this child. How is this child growing up?
Or at the very least, because the specific maths on the months, right? Maybe she's close to 19, maybe she got pregnant at 16, but that's still a minor, even if we go best case scenario, right? So who the father is, could that be cleared? Does that have anything to do with it? All of that, those are probably due diligence questions, because again, we don't know who this 35-year-old man is. Right?
This is,
we don't know. So
I hope they find this boy, because this boy's child. This child, his life is being put in danger by what's going on between these two adults.
The thing is, though, I do wonder to what extent. Why did the police respond the way they did? And is it that they didn't make certain reports, or is it that the police did not follow through with certain reports? Perhaps they did. Or again, we don't know the nature of the relationship. So,
ladies and gentlemen, you sometimes live in mystery, and it only just creates greater fears in your mind. I truly hope that this 2-year-old boy is found safe, an investigation needs to be conducted swiftly, thoroughly, and if necessary, this child needs to be removed from guardianship of both parents, because it seems to me, at least based off of this reporting, that it's just too peculiar and too odd. Let's take a break here on Talking Point.
The MG showroom has an SUV for your personality with multiple features that will have you driving in comfort and style. MG gives you the most miles, and now you can own your brand new MG for as little as $85 a day. I am Trisha Burke from Massey Motors. Contact me to drive away with your MG today.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you do in Andre.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival.
North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival begins on Friday, May 26th with Movie Night. Movie Night, 7 p.m. Festival Grounds, Blashy Shares. This year features the local hit movie, Hero, directed by Francis Solomon. Come see the story of local justice, Ulrich Cross. Join us at North Coast Jazz Family Night. May 26th, 7 p.m. Bring your cooler, bring your blanket, bring your family. North Coast Jazz. Born here, played here. North Coast Jazz is sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts. Visit Trinidad and the National Lotteries Control Board.
Welcome back. This is Talking Point. Sean Michael Small-Keaton Shaw here, having the discussions of the morning. And yesterday, the Prime Minister, he gave a speech, a presentation in Parliament to explain the government's position with regards to local government elections after the Privy Council ruling, which now seem to have to go forward. So for more on what the Prime Minister had to say, we have something of a summary of the important bits. So let's cue this.
All the way to the Privy Council, the government and the legal luminaries view this entire matter as one of interpretation of an intent. It is important to note that up to Wednesday, 17 May 2023, the government's interpretation prevailed, supported by the reasoned decisions of our local courts the High Court, and the Court of Appeal. This is the proof that our legal and protection systems worked, and at no time did the government act with impunity or wanton disregard for our laws or with any malicious intent towards citizens and their rights. The grant of the appeal to the Privy Council is further proof of the systems being allowed to work as we proceed with all good intention of effecting local government reform. It was not surprising that there was a split decision at the Privy Council, where Lords Richards, Reid and Hodge, in paragraph 20 of the judgment, had this to say: the absence of any detailed provisions concerning local government elections leads to the inevitable conclusion that a change in the length of the terms of office of incumbent councillors and aldermen cannot amount to a contravention of the Constitution. The term for which representatives have been elected is important, but an increase by 1 year in the term of incumbent councillors and aldermen does not of itself breach any of the provisions of the Constitution. 2 judges voted in favor of preserving the status quo of the successful defenses of the relevant interpretation, and 3 voted to disagree and thus change the status quo to a new interpretation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we see a change, not a crisis, and there's definitely no need for the mayhem, sackcloth and ashes that some desire. By the application of the common law, de facto office doctrine, the actions and decisions of the corporations will be recognized by law as valid. Under existing law, a period of not less than 35 days must lapse between the issue of the writ and the taking of the poll. Immediately and within 3 months of the 18th of May, the government will move to issue the writ so that a poll can be taken within the usual 90-day window. With the arrival of the new decision, the option always exists to extend the office of incumbents up to the 18th of May so as to validate the actions prior to May 18th and to call an election to be held within 3 months of the 18th of May 2023. Consistent with this advice and decision, the Deputy Chief Parliamentary Counsel is on standby for the drafting of the necessary legislation to validate all acts of the corporation from December 2022 up to the 18th of May 2023 and for the further 3-month period from 18th of May. This piece of legislation is expected to be ready to be laid in Parliament and debated and taken through all its stages in this Honourable House on Monday the 29th of May 2023. Once this is accomplished, the date for local government within the 90-day window will be announced, and with that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank you for your cooperation.
So that was the Prime Minister there giving his justification, as well as what the basic structure of the plan moving forward. Now, I saw a headline that implied that we would have gotten the date for the next election on the 29th. Based on what he actually said, what will happen is the legislature, to more or less clean up everything, will go through on the 29th. And once all of those processes are done, which is not necessarily 29th, then some point after that, it could be days, it could be a week, it could be a month, then we will get the date for the local government elections. We only know that it's going to be within 3 months of the 18th.
So elections are expected or due before August, or by August 17th, if my calculation is correct. I mean, I listened to the Prime Minister speak yesterday, and to me, that's all that matters. Elections are due by August 17th. The campaign started a while ago. It's now up to all political parties involved to see whether or not they would actually be ready in time. So how do we begin? I mean, I know right now there's an issue with members of the United National Congress and their councillors who have heeded to the calls of the opposition leader to not work. But beyond that, let the road paving exercises commence.
Now, the thing is, I find it interesting, both the Prime Minister and the AG before him went to great pains to point out, well, all of these judges agreed with us, including the appeal court judges here, that it was not unconstitutional, which, okay, that point, to be fair, because that accusation was thrown out in the public discourse. So even if it was not argued in a court of law, once it reached past a certain stage, they want to set the record straight. But while the government might view themselves and all of this exercises, besides the actions they have to do to move forward, all of the explaining as setting the record straight, to me, it looks more like damage control, whether they realize it or not. And as much as you might say the legal system worked, well, yes, but generally speaking, our expectations of politicians is they work the system to get what they want. They don't work outside the system, you know, they don't break the laws, they go through the gaps between the laws. And I do believe, though, that their primary motive and objective was to push the reforms through before the next local government election. I just don't think it's reasonable for us to then say, well, you know, the year extension was this unfortunate side effect that they didn't really want. No, I would agree with anybody that says they most likely thought it beneficial and wanted to have that year extension. But I'm not too sure if that was the primary motivation. I think, again, as somebody pointed out to me, there's this thing about politicians to have legacy projects, and this might have been another one of those attempts to have a legacy project. We did local government reform.
Okay, in response to what you are suggesting, where are we with local government reform since December till now? We're entering the 6th month of 2023. Where are we with local government reform? I mean, you're being very kind to the PNM, and I understand because we must examine all factors. However, I think they just need another year to campaign. Remember, the issue has, after the budget was read in October, it's finances that were crucial to all the exercises that they need to get done. And believe you me, I see them trying to get things done. This one-year extension was solely for the benefit of the government. The issue is people are saying democracy has prevailed because there was nothing wrong with the one-year extension to the terms of councillors. That wasn't argued in terms of the constitutionality. However, the democracy has won because people are saying we have every right to vote, and that's what the Privy Council is also basing their judgment on. So I'm asking you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, are you going to vote in local government elections? Do people take local government elections seriously?
That's the thing, turnout is less.
You see, the less turnout for local government elections than you see for general elections, and even for general elections, the numbers are low. So
let me be a contrarian to my own points. One of the things that I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, the local judges did not want to rock the status quo. Rocking the status quo, not only would it be probably very unpopular with the sitting government, but it's a risk, right? You are taking what is the easy way out, saying, well, you know what, this is what it is, let's just take the path of least resistance. Why are we going to rock the status quo over this? Is it really going to change things that much on a practical level? Potentially not. But the Privy Council Judicial Committee said, well, no. It's going to change things enough that it can't be allowed to stand. The other thing is, you just said finances. The interesting thing is, what else could they have accomplished in the year besides local government reform? Well, they could pay off their debts, and that includes the VAT refunds, of which they owe 7.8 billion. That would have been the third story we would have got into this morning. But think about it. You look better after you pay off 7.8 billion, and I believe that 7.8 billion is separate to the allocation to the 3 billion, which will go to their bills and their creditors. I think all of those are non-VAT related items.
I don't think that would have necessarily affected local government elections. I think more so the point of the Land Valuation Act, which is currently being debated, and the full re-implementation of property tax was the avenue that they were probably looking on as well.
Right, but my point is you get the country's finances in better order, so you look better, and you get a few more minor wins under your belt, and then you have the local government elections. You look better, you have a stronger position.
Paying off those VAT refunds via bonds that mature over a 3-year period doesn't put us in a better position right now, does it? I don't have cash in my hand right now.
It is, I believe, the government claimed the last time they did this, it was allowed for banks to buy, or there were banks who were able to buy the bonds now for now if you needed cash now, right? Obviously, you lose maybe the value of the interest or whatever. So I assume what the government was saying by giving that explanation or example, that facility will be afforded to bondholders in this instance again. With that said, I understand what you're saying. It's indirect, but I'm thinking just in general, we know how the public is. They're not necessarily going to look at the minute details. Oh, this is a local government issue, so this matters in this election. No, they're going to look at what is going on now. Is the PNM doing things good now? Well, then in local government elections, I will vote the PNM in. And too many people are very short-sighted. That's why you pave the roads just before elections. You don't pave the roads halfway into your term or right after the elections. So
we live in a society where box green and paved roads are the winners. I haven't seen my counselor for the longest while, right? I wonder if he still exists. I wonder if he's still there. But I could promise you something. Now that we know that the elections are going to be held on August 17th, just to ensure that he has his salary again from the month of August, he's going to be ringing on my doorbell to say, hey man, good to see you, vote for me.
One last thing about paving roads. The Tobago Council political leader, PNM, Ansel Dennis, he made a statement, you know, one of the best ways to get kickbacks is to have road paving, because you don't need the same layers of approval and the processes to go through all the designs and XYZ as if you had like building a hospital or building a school or something like that. You're just paving roads, right? Yeah. So as much as he's trying to direct that to the current THE administration, that logic applies to all political entities with that level of authority. What's happening right now, Keaton? What's happening right now? They also needed time to pave them roads. They had to find the money to pave them roads.
How much bitumen did we import to pave these roads? Let me give you a quick story.
Fast.
Passenger Road, which has been plagued by potholes. It has more pothole than road. It has more grass growing in the road than anything else. Well, after years of neglect, the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation made the decision, hey, listen, we're going to pave Passenger Road now. So in the matter of 2 days, Passenger Road was paved. Guess what? After it was paved, wasser lines leaking on the road. And I'm just here like, you know, but hold on, we knew this issue before y'all paved the road. So y'all couldn't like collaborate with WASA to fix these leaking pipelines before paving the road?
What?
No. So now you see water appearing on the freshly paved road. Guess what?
You have to dig it.
No, they don't have to dig it.
They
dug it.
So it goes back to what we said about the heritage pipeline and the fact that town and country utilities, heritage, they're not communicating. One would think the examples are numerous. Local government, works and transport, WASA, communicate now. Maybe? No? Why not? I don't know. I mean, in some cases, aren't they all of the same political party? This is not like the States or Europe where things are multi-party and they have all sorts of different agendas. You all are the same party, you all can't get communication done.
I'm telling you, Sean, in my area, between where I live, where my parents live, where my girlfriend lives, I could point out multiple things that are wrong. So I can't wait for the councillor to ring on my doorbell.
Well, I don't think the councillor ready for that, but good luck with that, councillor. I mean, you know, if you did the groundwork beforehand, you could have avoided this issue. Folks, we have to take a break. When we come back, there is some speculative footage that we will be examining. Speculative. We'll be right back after this.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you do now, Andrew.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the right and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there has been an audio clip that has been circulating on social media. One media house has reported on it. It's difficult to verify, but the contents we believe is important enough that we should have a discussion about it responsibly and be careful with regards to any speculation. So I ask that when you listen to this, be very careful what assumptions you make, but let's roll with the clip.
Find the plan, create the plan, the strategy or whatever, bring it here once you get approval, whether it is You see, at 13 people now, you might just need 5 or 7 to do strict PR, so you could use some to do some propaganda. Whether they're going to use fake profiles, whether they're going to use their own profiles, whatever they do. What you will have to consider is finding a way to employ people on the THA side. Could be menial tasks.
We don't have to pay. Yeah, most of them kind of got away to Chanel, and we found that.
And most of them kind of get employed already.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is the others who not employed to bring them in because they are happy to do the thing on the side voluntarily. You know, once we employ them 8 to 4 in a lucrative.
So they get income.
Yes, that is what we know. So we will organize.
And that will help. That will help, even with as I was indicating. With the challenge you raised in terms of how to organize responding to the moves in Trinidad, that can help in shaping the narrative. Because about shaping the narratives. I don't want us to stop campaigning.
So, the minority leader of the THA, Kelvin Morris, and the political leader of the IDA have already come out with regards to who they believe is on, who are the speakers in that audio clip. I don't necessarily want to go down the lines of speculating who it is. I would caution people, yes, it does sound like certain people in the THA. Now, based on what they said, I think it's reasonable to think that the speakers have some connection to the THA, because if my analysis is correct, what they're saying is that they're getting people to work on social media for them. Some of these people already have jobs, so their concerns are those that are not currently employed to find them jobs, and they specifically said in the THA, so that they will have some sort of income and then they will do the social media work on the side. The implication of that is they're not getting a THA job because of the due process of the recruitment for that. They're getting it because they want people doing side work for them to have an income. And then, of course, the other thing is the word propaganda was mentioned, utilizing fake profiles was mentioned, and the controlling of the narrative with news coming out of Trinidad was mentioned, which is interesting because I'm not entirely too sure what the agenda is for the current THA executive with regards to Trinidad. I'm under the impression that Trinidad is not a priority per se for them, unless it's talking about the autonomy bill.
I'm actually not sure what the THA's agenda is for Tobago anymore. Let alone Trinidad. I don't know what the THA's agenda for Tobago is. But you can speculate all you'd like about the voices that were heard in that particular clip. Don't call names, that's all I will say. Speculate, think about it, never call names simply because libel is a hell of a thing. But
the content though?
The content, okay, so the thing is, right, how do you go about verifying this? Because nobody beyond the minority leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Kelvin Morris, has really spoken out about this.
Deniso Fernandez.
Right, precisely, but okay. Within the THA.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Deniso, if I was commenting on it. But how do you go about now verifying this and investigating it? Because if there are employees of the THA on the books that are legitimate, they're employed with the THA, they're receiving an income. Precisely, what do? We can put any fancy title towards them. Any title that doesn't mean anything.
Even menial work.
Right.
Yeah.
But their job or their instructions as per their job or their side job is simple. Fake profiles, spread propaganda on social media.
Control the narrative.
You just have to be, and this is the thing, how are you not going to go about verifying all of this? Because I don't think the THA will release an audit of all its employees and their job and what they're doing. Even then, how are you going to point out, well, this individual is doing that?
For better or worse, because since there's no corroborating video so that we could see who the speakers are, this could be a hoax. This could be a false flag operation. I mean, how likely is that? I can't even begin to think right now. But we have to at least keep that in the back of our mind. That possibility is not zero. So this could be a hoax. This could be not legitimate. But I do think at the end of the day, it's not something that we should just ignore.
You can't ignore
right?
this.
Because things like this, what was said is well within the realm of possibilities with regards to how our politics in general, not just the current political body of whichever body you're looking at, operates.
I wonder if those voices that were heard in that particular clip, if they're now scratching their head as to exactly who is the spy on the part of the PNM that is infiltrating our conversations with these recordings.
That's the other thing. How was it?
Well done on whoever got the recording. It's excellent. And I think more of these things should come to light. The thing is now, as I've said, I do not know anymore how we're going to move forward. I'm between you and I and the viewing public and everybody watching out there.
Yeah.
I am very much disappointed, extremely disappointed in the THA generally. I'm not speaking specifically to this particular clip because again,
yes, before this,
just before this, disappointed, and I do not know anymore what are their plans, what are their visions, and really what is their agenda for Tobago.
The unfortunate thing is we can't ignore it. So it goes out to the public. For better or worse, that means that the perception is going to exist. And if it is a hoax, it will be an unfair perception. However, at the end of the day, whether it's a hoax or whether it's legitimate, one would hope that the people involved will come out to either defend themselves or to increase transparency, to try to squash this, put it to rest,
so
right?
How could you believe anything now that is coming from the THA if these individuals happen to be senior officials in the THA? How could you believe anything now coming out of there? What would you decipher from what is fake versus real?
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's difficult, but at the end of the day, again, we can't ignore the implications of it. And this is the dividends of when you do not practice transparency and accountability to the extent that you ultimately can. However far you can go with it, you have to go the furthest you can with it, right? As I said it before, something I've learned from my family, do the right thing even when you are not sure what the benefits of doing the right thing are, right? Even when you see other people kind of scare the system and take shortcuts, don't be tempted by that, even if it seems as though, well, what's the worst that could happen? You don't know. And by building up that goodwill, if you're a politician, you get the benefit of the doubt. But because the THA is on a downward trajectory, this could all be fake, but it's hard to give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. So if they were very open with all of the hiring and firing, and there was no wiggle room, no gaps for them to, like what the government, I suspect the government did with local government, there were no gaps to swim through, right, to get any exemptions through or exceptions through. Right? If it was airtight and open for all to see, then this audio clip would be meaningless. But that's not the case.
The next part of it, obviously, is Kelvin Morris, if you're watching, I kind of need more than that. Is there more of that clip from beginning to end?
Well, I don't know if it originated from him.
No, but we're speaking about it.
Yeah.
And it is just a snippet of a clip. It's like all these videos we see now on social media. People pull out their phone when they want to, right? So this particular clip, this audio recording, is that it? Obviously, to me, there's going to be more before this piece was cut out and after this piece was cut out, right? So, and plus, this could just be, something that is put together. So think about all of that as well, right? To me, it's going to be interesting now how it goes about and how people respond, because this clip is a couple days old, and up until now, I don't think it's been taken too seriously.
Yeah.
And that could be an issue as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here for news on the hour. When we return, we open up the phone lines, and guess what? We've got something to give away this morning. Stay tuned.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Greendot pipeline repairs underway. Boxing fraternity says more needs to be done for past boxers. Regionally, St. Lucia's opposition accuses government of using suppression to protect victory. And internationally, at least 4 injured in apparent shooting in central Japan. Now for the details. The collapsed pipeline in the Greendot River is expected to be removed by the end of June. Confirmation from the Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez in Parliament on Wednesday.
And a contractor mobilization commenced on May the 19th, 2023. WASA advised further, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that the procurement process took a little longer than expected because of the need to first procure the services of an external specialized consultant, an expert diving firm to undertake inspection and surveillance of the fallen tract under the sea.
Boxing promoter Boxer Potts says the death of boxing great Claude Noel is a tremendous loss to the nation. Noel passed away on Sunday at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex at 73 years old.
On behalf of the WBC family, we pay condolences to the Noel family and the boxing fraternity of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the wider Caribbean and the world. We mourn his passing, and I think that Mr. Noel should be respected and be given a state funeral. I think so. I find it is very deserving for him. He has done human service for his country.
Potts believes that more could be done for the welfare of sporting legends in this country that seem to be forgotten.
But we are from a very cruel society that does not respect our iconic figures. We doesn't know how to celebrate icons. I, for one, I ask everybody, all my friends, all my colleagues, and everybody around the world, celebrate me when I'm alive, not when I'm dead. And for that, I find that the country could have done a bit more for him. Those in the boxing fraternity could have shown him a bit more respect.
In regional news now in St. Lucia, the United Workers' Party has expressed that it is deeply concerned about what it calls the growing use of suppression by the government of St. Lucia as a form of protecting their victory. In a statement, the opposition said that it has been made aware of several reports of abuse of the civil liberties of law-abiding citizens in the South under the government's suppression of escalated crime police powers, which has given ordinary police officers far-reaching and unprecedented powers that infringe upon individual rights, liberties, and privacy. In international news now, at least 4 people were injured Thursday after a man fired something resembling a hunting rifle in Nakano City in Nagano Prefecture in central Japan. Police received a call in the late afternoon with reports that a man stabbed a woman. When police arrived at the scene, the man fired something resembling a hunting rifle, injuring 4 people before fleeing and barricading himself in a building. NHK reported the suspect was wearing a camouflage hat, top and bottoms with sunglasses and a mask. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. The superb voices and a refreshing sound is at North Coast Jazz. Lisa, brass to the world with Ronnie and Super Blue, Stacey Sobers, Duvon Stewart, Mangal Patesa, Chrison Joseph, Marvin Newton with Kyrie Kaiso, all led by the sensational Dean Williams Quintet. Celebrate amazing with new artists, new voices, and fascinating sounds. Tickets available at Crosby's, Extra Foods Endeavour, Shogunas Main Road, Sangre Grande, Arima, Grand Bazaar, Mart's Liquor Mart, Diego Martin, Kenny's Sports Outlets, Athletes by the Park, and WESN. May 20th. 27th Festival Grounds Blanchisseuse. This is no ordinary jazz. This is North Coast Jazz. Born here, played here.
North Coast Jazz is sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, Visit Trinidad, and the National Lotteries Control Board.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? It's about time that we open up the phone lines, 623-9376. But as we open up the phone lines, here's what. We're feeling generous this morning.
We are.
We are.
We are.
So, WESN Coins and Capital is proud to sponsor with North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. Now, we do have a call on the line with us from Santa Cruz. Or we don't. Oh, so what is our direct? Anyway, guess what?
That's a real setup, boy.
That is a real setup.
I am telling you to inform you that the person did not call
two
again.
tickets to North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival in my hand, and I'm giving away these tickets to one lucky caller this morning. So you have to call in on Talking Point. Relatives of staff of WSN and the Committee of North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival are not eligible, but this thing goes as this. If you could name for Sean and I just 4 performances, 4 acts that will be taking place at North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival this Saturday, May 27th in Blanchisseuse. If all you say Blanchy Squeezy, we'll fall out. In Blanchisseuse.
I've heard that a long time. I've heard that a long time. I don't know how, but...
Name 4 acts that are going to be gracing the stage in Blanchisseuse at North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival 2023 on Saturday. And these 2 tickets could be yours. So, if it is you couldn't afford a $200 date, guess what? A $1,000 date is on us this morning. All right, so call in, give me those 4 acts, and those tickets could be yours. Sean, I'm certainly looking forward to this show on Saturday. I know last year we went, we had a great time actually. This year, I think we're going to even have more of a grand time.
I hope so. I hope so. It was the first time, so a lot of it is new, and you don't expect, you don't know where to go, and you don't know what to do, etc., etc. So hopefully, just our experience will help make things smoother for us. We don't have to be asking questions. Where's this? What's that? Where do we do? Where do we go? And so on and so on. Talk to some people, meet some people, see what's going on, take in some entertainment.
Or you can just come and talk to Sean and I. Don't wait for us to come up to you. Yeah. Come and talk to Sean and I, because we do plenty talking during the week. So just go.
That's a reason to not talk with us, because do you want to hear us talk more?
We're not gonna. We promise you we won't keep you back from all the entertainment. But listen, I just raised up the tickets, and funny enough, there are names on these tickets as to the performances, the acts that are going to be there for North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. So if you like these 2 tickets, all you have to do is call in and give me the 4 acts. At least 4, because they're going to be 6. So I want 4 from you guys that will be at North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. And guess what? If you've been following AM Prime, you'd know all the acts. You know all the acts. Do you know all the acts?
No, I do not know all the acts.
Take a quick look. Take a quick look. Don't
show the people. I mean, even if you were paying attention, because the ad just played before we came back to Talking Point, where it listed out the acts. So there is one act that I'm hoping that I would be able to, depending on how the timing works out, that we could see. But he's more to the end.
Oh, by the way, Sean and I will not be singing, so you're going to actually have a very good show.
Well, they're half disappointed and half relieved.
That is true. I understand. Thank you very much. I know you will all be disappointed that Sean wouldn't be there to sing for us, but that's okay. I'm relieved that Sean wouldn't be there to sing for us.
I was like, at least he didn't try to spin it, with some nonsense. But nah, he had to get his digging at the end.
Anyway, so call in and join us 623-9376. Come on, people. Hold on. Is our phone lines giving trouble again?
Therein lies the other question. This would be particularly funny.
A bummer if that was the case.
Particularly funny if that is the case.
And I think they are. They have been giving some trouble for some time. We actually tried to fix them yesterday. So, Sean, you want to give the people your cell numbers?
No. One of our callers asked my number due to other business considerations that we were consulting about. So that's a separate situation. That's not a common practice that will be instituted.
And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, if it is that you're wondering, listen, I can't get up to North Coast, I don't want to make that drive. Well, for $100, you get a return fare to and from, obviously it's a return fare. So you'll be dropping off your vehicle at the Queen's Park Savannah and making your way, of course, to Blanchisseuse. I think, is it the question that probably has people mind boggled?
Potentially.
Is it the potentially? Whatever it is. I guess we're just going to keep these 2 tickets for ourselves. But if you want it, you can call in and join us on Talking Point. I actually do feel that the phone lines are giving trouble. So could our directors just confirm or clarify that the phones are actually working this morning, please? Because usually at this point in time, I hear from at least Mr. San Fernando. Yeah. So, actually we're talking to our directors in the air and they...
Oh no.
Oh, okay, let's take the phone lines off this screen. This hasn't worked out well for us at all.
We were just told that somebody from TSCT was recently to the studio.
This? I try to be nice, give away tickets to people and...
Yeah.
Alright, anyway, moving on with the conversation. Don't worry guys, you still have the opportunity to win those tickets because if that phone line gets back up just before we end the show at 9:30, once more we'll open this up and we will ask you guys to call in and give us those responses. If you have been trying to call in and you're not getting through, we do apologize for that. It's kind of, to a certain extent, it's our fault because we did put the phone lines up on the screen, but the TSTT...
They're working on the lines as we speak. I can't believe this is happening. Wow, this timing is impressive.
You know what? I think, guess what? We're on national television. We could just forget this part of the show.
Wait, I'm hearing
that is not our television phone line.
Oh no, okay.
That is I'm hearing something else. All right. So as I said, if actually we do get the phone lines up and running...
I'm wondering if somebody is calling the office number, trying to get through.
It really is a bummer. Listen, you know what? Should we just, in order to be fair and give everybody an opportunity, should we just, wait for tomorrow to have this giveaway?
We might have to.
Yeah, I think we should.
Right? If we don't get any phone calls in, and, which is very odd, but if...
Right.
Yeah, we have another show tomorrow, although, it gives you less time to plan and prepare, but it is what it is. We want the tickets, of course, to be given to someone, a viewer who, wants to have the tickets, wants to go to the show. We don't want them to just kind of sit down there, and we don't want to...
I am sorry. I am seeing somebody commenting on social media or calling Sean's phone. Unfortunately, that doesn't count because guess what? We already had closed the phone lines and the question is going to change. So, I am so sorry. It does not count. You had to call in on
that might not have been calling in for the tickets. That might have been on a separate matter.
I am seeing an individual fondly known as Miss Santa Cruz making the comment on Facebook. But Miss Santa Cruz, you only named 3 acts because Super Blue and Ronnie McIntosh happen to be one act as part of one band, Brass to the World. So, unfortunately, I still can't even give them tickets. I am sorry, but the question is going to change because we already spoke of that question. Obviously, everybody has the opportunity to run now and do their research. So, Keep up to date with WSN throughout the day to see all the advertisements. Even go to the Facebook page to get more information. And tomorrow morning, when we open up the phone lines, hopefully at this point, TSCT will actually do their job and resolve the issue rather than have to interrupt it during talking point. We could get it resolved by then tomorrow morning. We'll open up the phone lines and give away those 2 tickets. If not, if even then, for some reason, the phone lines aren't working, for whatever reason that the phone lines aren't working, Sean and I are going to do some charity. We're going to go out on the road and we're going to talk to some people and probably give away those 2 tickets. But let's see what happens until then. Anyway, moving forward now with respect to another thing that was raised by my very good friend, the Minister of National Security.
Oh, your good friend.
Yeah, my good friend. The 360-degree radar system is fully functional.
It is.
That's excellent news. The 360-degree radar function is fully functional, but there's a but. According to the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, no Coast Guard fleet in the world can patrol all legal and illegal ports of entry around the country. So...
Oh, so what he's saying is we have porous borders.
He's admitting that there is porous borders to a certain extent. However, you also have to understand that even though the radars are working, and in 2018 we had the 2 Cape Coast vessels that were delivered in 2021, we do not necessarily have the staff, the resources, and the infrastructure to guard our borders. So this 360-degree radar system, to a certain extent, is useless.
I have a headache because from the very beginning, not only due to the fact that we got COVID from Latin America, so it's not as though it could have just been spontaneous, divine, intervention within our borders, right? It had to come from the south. So that was one piece of evidence. But just based on the amount of assets that were available, as well as the observations of some of our callers who either are currently or were fishermen, no fishermen, that is to say they go out on the sea, they make reports that aren't responded to, right? They know of situations that aren't responded to. They have practical experience with the lack of patrols, right? So we have, for all intents and purposes, a man on the ground telling us what his views are. We have the fact that COVID came through. We have the fact that I know that you need more than 2 boats to patrol all of our coastline and ocean. But yet, the government kept trying to say, things are secure, things are secure, things are secure. So now come and say this. And the sad part about it is, with radar, depending on your range of it, right? It's an exponential thing. If you enforce your borders properly, you won't need as much assets, right, to keep the situation under control. Because when you see somebody trying to get in, sneak in, you don't need that much assets to interdict. But when you allow the borders to kind of just be the Wild West, there's too many things to track, there's too many things to try to intercept, to try to investigate, so they're going to slip through. It's kind of like, right now, our police force is probably large enough if we had crime under control, but because the detection rate for murders is not there, murders are going out of control, right? Because we're not actually interdicting any sort of smuggling is out of control. So now it's reached the point where, yeah, we'll never have enough ships because there's so much of it, or the possibility is just so widespread. But the real thing that the minister is not getting to is the fact that we have heard that there will be nights when they get a call, don't go out on patrol tonight, and stuff gets through. And again, we know stuff gets through. We know stuff gets through because when people were locked out of their own country during a global pandemic, we had illegal immigration still going on. We did not have a total drug interdiction lockdown of our borders. We had guns still coming through, drugs still coming through, and COVID still coming through.
Right, so you're suggesting that, okay, we cannot guard every single illegal port of entry, or there's not enough Coast Guard to even secure the legal ports of entry. do we have enough security at the legal ports of entry? So one of the things that was also brought up was the scanners at the port. And the minister said it is not correct to say that scanners were not being used at the port.
I saw that, yes.
He said the country had fixed scanners and mobile scanners, and like all of the equipment, they need upgraded and maintenance from time to time. That does not answer the question as to whether or not they are up and running. So he's playing smart with foolishness. It's incorrect to say that scanners are not being used at the ports. It's correct to say that they're not working. However, they're there and we utilize them.
And I think part of it is they're talking about, well, they need to get more mobile scanners. The fixed scanners are still working.
No,
but then,
not, because if you recall, I think we're waiting until next year for the scanner, the new scanner for the port of Spain.
No, those will be mobile.
Right?
The Minister of Finance, I believe, said that, right? No, but the point is, though, when you're talking about scanning goods at the port, there are a lot of technical aspects with regards to no port has enough scanners that they're going to scan everything that comes through, right? They just don't. So now it's a technical thing with regards to what is your rate of scanning and how do you choose what to scan. And I think it's safe to say we don't scan enough.
No, that's the thing. You're not supposed to choose what you scan. You're supposed to scan everything.
No. Like literally, the delays, you just don't have enough scanning infrastructure. I don't think any port does, or very few ports do.
Given our rates of crime and given the level of crimes that are taking place, especially with guns and the war of drugs taking place on the streets, we don't have a choice.
Well, so the idea is, it's twofold. Obviously, if you're investigating, you have a lead, you scan a suspected container with illegal or goods or smuggling goods or whatever. Then, of course, you know, to whatever extent that you don't have 100% capacity, you randomize it, right? But again, I believe, this is speculation on my part, you get a call, hey, don't scan X, look at that. No, it's approved.
Right, okay.
And it goes through.
All right, I hear what
so
you're
part
saying.
of it is the corruption. They choose not to scan certain things.
Right. So
speculation on my part.
Good. And make sure you make that clear. Because I would ask the question, is it that the system is deliberately designed this way to allow all this to be happening, to allow this inflow? Because as much as you want to be a part of an appeal of a lawsuit taking place in the United States, right, you also have to understand that if you're not doing your part, if you're not securing your borders, and you're basically admitting that we do not have the border security that is necessary, then guess what? You are at fault, you bear responsibility, and that could affect your position or your case. You want to make it illegal in terms of banning these high-powered weapons, when according to the Act, there's no definition, one, and two, accordingly, some of these weapons are already banned.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop the inflow.
No, so that is because that's what you see in America. Oh, there's a mass shooting, we need to ban guns, and then half the time it's like, but the guns used were already illegal.
My next question is as well, what about the existing manpower within the Coast Guard, within the Air Guard? Are we utilizing the existing manpower? Are we just paying salaries to individuals who go there to wear their uniform every day?
Here is the problem with bureaucracy. And you see this in private business as well, in different degrees and different ways. And you see this in public service as well, not just in TNT, throughout the world. And one will argue that with regards to certain aspects, even our national security apparatus functions similar to other areas of the public service with regards to how people want to ensure job security, want to control their little corner of their entity or the public sector. And what happens is, part of that is, I don't want to have to, one, take up new duties, learn new things, depending. Two, I might be having a free ride where I don't have a lot to do. So I don't want to actually have to add duties that will give me work to do. So I want to resist that. Three, if I have any sort of under-the-table operation, I don't want to cooperate with initiatives that could eliminate that.
Sean, sorry to interrupt you, but everything that you're saying could be summarized in just one sentence. It is easy to just be illegal or involved in illegal activities in TNT.
Part of it is, it's not completely for an illegal profit motive, but that is lumped together with it.
Sure.
With regards to the fact that you
Even
asked
if
if this system is set up to be so, I think it's not so much that it's planned, set up to be so, but it kind of evolved that way. And it is in the interest of various individuals to keep it that way.
You have to forgive
They
me.
have different motivations.
Right, that's okay, so then you've basically said it's planned. Because you know why? If you're saying it's evolved this way, but people have let it remain this way, and people are deliberately allowing the system to continue to decline and decay, then that is planned. To me, if you're not actually doing something...
It's not a central plan. It's not like there's one overarching...
we don't have to go into the fact that, okay, you know what, we're sitting on behind a desk and...
No, because when you say plan, the
come on.
implication is the system is like, and this is how we're going to do it. And I don't think that
remember,
happened. I think...
You remember I asked a question. I'm very, very careful. I'm asking a question rather than making the statement. And I don't have to go down into the semantics and say, I sitting on a piece of paper. No, the mere fact that we know all these things, we have all the intelligence. Another example, the individual was murdered in what is known as Bangladesh, in Kirap, right, between Kirap and St. Joseph. The police are saying he was a known gang member and a suspect in multiple shootings in the area. But guess what? He's still allowed to be in his house. He ended up dying by being stabbed multiple times and burning alive. Well, not burning alive, but being burnt in his house, right? The individual was still allowed to remain on these streets. The point is, with everything that is taking place, you have all this knowledge. This individual was a known suspect. This individual was affiliated with a gang. We know where you can go and get guns in Trinidad. I think the Minister of National Security said go Cedrus or Carcass or something like that, and it's easy to get an illegal. So you're saying all these things. All of these things you're admitting, all of these things you know, all these things you understand, and what is being done about it? Nothing. You continue to stand up as though you are always on a political platform, and you continue your campaign. Your campaign ended when you got into your office, when you were sworn in as minister. And up until this point, no national security minister, no national security, I am not speaking just about him, no national security minister has actually tried to resolve this issue. It's remained this way.
Once again, the irony is a member of the PNM actually said more or less the same thing, this time with regards to the THA executive. You're in office already, right? Now do the people work, right? And you're right. What is with, and this is the unfortunate thing, and I don't necessarily think you just increase the term limit or you increase the length of each term. I don't know if that is automatically a solution, but because we have these 4-year, 5-year term situations, right? Politicians spend just as much time, if not more time, and this is not unique to TNT, about the next election and what they need to do to win the next election as opposed to what is in the best interest of the nation. Because usually that means long-term thinking, and long-term thinking is not going to be popular in the short term. It's not going to help you win the next election.
I don't know. I think at every single press conference that the Minister of National Security holds, they should have the Looney Tunes theme before he appears on camera. Anyway, listen. By the way, I'm sorry for my rant. If you find my voice or my accent annoying, who gives a damn? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am Keaton Shaw. That's Shaw Michael Small. This has been Talking Point. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, and hopefully TSTT can fix our lines so we can actually do something good for the people and give away some tickets, rather than us paying our money to TSTT and they're not giving us service. Hopefully tomorrow morning from 9 o'clock we can do that. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Is it it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
One in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime.
A genetic type of hereditary as well, breast cancer,
right,
which is due to abnormality in the genes. People are born with that abnormality in the gene, and they have that predisposition to developing cancer at an early age.
And a mom and a sister and a strong genetic component in my family for breast cancer. Should I start screening in my 20s? What's Up Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
We are WESN, the premier platform for Caribbean content. WESN, covering West, East, South, and North. WESN, we entertainment, sports, and news. WESN, available on Greendot 7, Amplia 118, Airlink 17, Bmobile 107, Digicel 21, ICNTT 105, and Flow 110. Connect with us at WESNCC or stream online at www.wesncc.com. WESN, your premier platform for Caribbean content.
With a serious lack of evidence and is extremely unprofessional.
It is clear that this is a collective disinformation campaign by the US to mobilize the countries in